Welcome, everybody. The leaves are changing, and we are painting this adorable classic truck with pumpkins or bonus bushel of apples. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to be starting this painting, doing the truck in a wet on wet technique, and I am using burnt orange from Dr. P.H. Martin here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you like what you're getting out of this, then please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I have a new goal for 2026 to hit 100,000 subscribers. I have a long way to go, so I will need your help. But back to the truck. So I am doing a wet on wet for the truck, and I am doing the front part of the truck here in this pretty little orange color. If you are wanting to do a different color, of course, by all means, change it up. But the one thing I love about these classic trucks is I've seen them in all sorts of colors, and they are all super cute. So I chose this orange because I just wanted this whole painting to kind of have that monochromatic look, the fall look. The leaves here in northern New England are just starting to change. So as I'm looking out my window right now, I'm looking at literally these colors on the leaves as well as a bunch of other colors. It is just starting. So trees are still very green, grass is still very green, but we're just starting to see peaks and stuff of color. Curious what it's like for you where you're at. So for the pumpkin, it is the same color. It's burnt orange, but is wet on dry. What I really love about this is you get to really see the kind of contrast between the wet on wet burnt orange and the wet on dry. Same exact color, just totally different. And now I'm wondering if I even use burnt orange. But it is burnt orange for the pumpkins, and um, and then we are going to finish up all the pumpkins in this orange, and then I will add the detail in later. I'm not using the greatest quality paper here. You could kind of tell, especially at the top of that big pumpkin there, just that kind of marking where, even though I painted it the same way, there's a difference in the shade. That's just because it's the poor quality paper. Don't ask me why I used it. I think it was just what was on my table, so I just used it. Typically be using this for just scratch paper, but I'm using this for this painting. But it also goes to show you that if you're practicing, even the cheap paper can help. It can also hurt you, but a lot of times people don't realize what the cheaper paper exactly is doing. So you're maybe wondering why your blends aren't working as well, or your colors are separating. Oftentimes that's not the user, that's the product. So it's probably the paper. So in this case, you can kind of see how splotchy it is. So it is a paper for me. And we're going to let this orange dry. And I'm going to do wet on wet for the sign on the back of the truck. I am going to use a bleed proof white over this. So I'm not worried about the lettering, but a couple of things you can do if you don't have bleed proof white, you can use like a, always blank out on the name, blanked out on it in the last video too. You can always use like the drawing gum to fill it in so that you don't have to worry about it, or you could just be very careful and paint around it. Or you can do the sign in a black, like the letters in the black, and keep the sign white. I mean, there's different options. So if you don't have bleed proof white, don't worry about it. But I definitely recommend adding it to your armory because I use it quite a bit in my artwork for accents, especially if you like doing some of the night galaxy scenes, the night scenes that I do. It definitely helps to have the bleed proof white. So I'm using a sepia here again, Dr. P.H. Martin for all of my paints. I'm 99% exclusive to Dr. P.H. Martin. I do use some pans. I'm at the point now where I make my own pan colors, mostly the metallics. So that's why I make my own. The metallics I like them to be pretty pigmented, and I found that a lot of them aren't. So I make my own and I just load up on the pigment. Now we're doing the grass. I'm using the sap green for not the grass, I guess it's like an ivy. a hanging ivy, just to give a little bit of greenery to this. I'm literally just using the tip of my brush to do this tap tap all the way across, and it, 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 it works. And this is also why you want to wait for it to dry completely, because if it wasn't completely dry, that green would definitely bleed into the orange, and we don't want that. So I'm just doing this all the way across. I'm filling in all the white spots, and I'm letting the darker and the lighter ones just kind of work its way through. As you can see, some parts are lighter than the others. That's what I want. I want it to kind of have that variation. I will go in and fill in more later, but I wanted to get the base of the ivy in there. Also, if you have the stencil for the pumpkins, make sure to check out. I also have the stencil to have a bushel of apples. I'm actually teaching this class in a couple of places here in New Hampshire, and one of the students said, "Oh, that'd be cute, but I like apples better." And I was just like, "Oh, let's do apples." So I just thought it'd be cute to switch it up. Some people want to do the apples. I think the apples will be really cute. So I might do both. I won't do a video on the apples because it's just the exact same thing, but I might do the apples for myself. I think it's a really cute idea. Uh, so finishing up the green, this isn't a photorealistic truck, obviously, but we will add some shadowing and stuff just to give it some dimension, make it not look so flat. And you can see some of the lines through there. I'm also using my round snap brushes from Princeton. I like just the stiffness of the brush to be able to do these little ivy things. As you can see, for the wreath, maybe you can't see it, but or you can tell, it's upside down. I'm rotating the painting so that I can make sure my brush strokes go in the same direction um, all the way around. Maybe the opposite direction. My brain is just not working today. I want the ivy and the leaves to look like they're facing outward. So I rotated the truck just so I wasn't trying to force myself to get the leaves to go in the right direction. It probably makes more sense once you're looking at it now that it's complete. Okay, so sepia again for the stumps of the pumpkins. When I was doing this, I was like, oh, wait, I painted over these stumps in orange. But it was fine. You can't even tell because the sepia sat perfectly fine on top of the orange. It's darker. I don't think anybody even noticed. I completely had forgotten about it until I saw this again. So adding the stumps, and I will go back once that's dry and add some more detail to the pumpkins later. But you can see it's starting to come together. I'm also now taking that same sepia and adding the shadows to the sign on the back of the truck. And also the back bumper of this truck was wood, and so I wanted to just give that wood effect. The best way to do this is for your brush to be fairly dry. So what I did was I took a watered down sepia, and then I made sure my brush was dry. So when I picked up the watered down sepia, that's pretty much the only thing that made my brush wet. That way I was able to have these nice clean lines, and I did it in a quick brush stroke so that the lines were straight. This is also where the bleed proof white comes in handy, or the drawing gum, because if you were trying to work this detail around the letter carefully, that might make it harder to get that wood grain in, but of course you wouldn't have to do wood grain. So again, adding some more of this brown sepia detail to the truck, and adding some just some lines and stuff. This is just going to help give it some definition. These are like the grooves in the truck, the door, the step area, that sort of thing. So just putting in those details over you can see the drawing lines on there too, so you can see easily what that was. I think when when I drew this, I was like, this looks like it needs. There was no line there, but I was looking at it, I'm like, this is a fender and it doesn't have a line, so I just threw that line in there. I might have that in my stencil, but if not, then yeah, go ahead and add it. I'm pretty sure I do. So adding some more shadow underneath the fender, and then around the windows, using again the sepia. I'm not overthinking it. I want this to be a little bit more of a illustration than really a photorealistic picture. So I'm not going too much into trying to get perfect lines. I'm trying to keep it rather, uh, you know, illustrative instead of perfect. I just think it makes it look a little bit cuter. So these mirrors that stick out, I do end up taking bleed proof white in the end and putting like a little reflection in the mirror. You can even put, if you want, if you're feeling creative, you want to add a silhouette to the car and the reflection of the mirror. Maybe throw in yourself and a dog, or I don't know, a grandparent, whatever you want. The creativity is all yours. So with the tires, it's all black. I do end up going back later and adding again bleed proof white to the hubcap. I don't remember why I did it that way. I think I just forgot that the hubcap was white and it was kind of too late. I already painted it black. So I basically used it like a whiteout. But adding some shadows and stuff to the tires here. And of course tires are black. And you can, if you want to add like a white wall tires, you can. I remember my dad was obsessed with classic cars, and which is funny because they weren't classic to him at the time that he was obsessed with them. As he got older, he still loved them, but I remember him always talking about the white wall tires. That was his thing. He loved the white wall tires. And of course, after he passed, I really began to understand some of the stuff that he loved. And I was 39 when he passed away, so I wasn't young, but I also wasn't, typical age that, you parents grow older. And so now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. I get your love. Came from a very, very poor family. Um, and I think white wall tires were, it was like that symbol of I've made it for him. And so, things like that are stuff that you can add to your art piece to just make it a little extra special, a little extra sentimental. I didn't do that. I didn't do that in this one because I literally just thought of it right now. But hey, maybe if I do this again with the apples, I will add the white wall tires and make that maybe a painting for my dad. I think he would appreciate that. So I have to add all 4 tires. I have this is one of the things I used to forget to do when I was originally started drawing when I was younger, is I would draw a car and I would forget, or a horse or whatever that has 4 wheels or 4 legs, and I would forget the other side. So he's like, always look like, what's wrong with your car? What's wrong with your animal? It's just got 2 tires and 2 legs. So adding the detail, I'm using the black to kind of put a little shadowing under the bumper as well. Now I'm going back and adding that burnt orange detail to the pumpkins to give it a nice little detail to the pumpkins. So I'm just going to do this with all of these pumpkins here. So tell me what the weather is like there for you, where you're at. Is the weather changing? I know for me, when I lived in Arizona at this point, it would still be very, very hot. And it's the biggest transition for me moving from Arizona to New England was how short the summers are. And I know that probably seems obvious. I knew that was going to be the case moving here, but until you actually experience it, you don't realize how fast it makes the year go by, even more so than it already does. So, when you have summers that last 9-10 months, and you really only have like a season and a half in where you live. In Arizona, it was just basically hot or not as hot. And so, and that contributed to having the years feel a little bit slower. And I didn't realize that until I moved here. And all of a sudden, everything changes here every single day. Even, the seasons go by. They're the true 3-4 months that you get in a season, but it's also changing every day. So even from morning to night, it can change. So it's just that constant changing, constant shifting through the seasons here makes time go by really, really fast. But I've noticed it also makes me kind of appreciate things a little bit more because it does go by fast. And I've noticed that for the people that live here as well. Like in the summertime, as soon as the weather gets warm, you see everybody outside. All of a sudden, everybody comes outside and they're gardening and they're, you know, painting their porch and they're redoing their roof and they are pulling the weeds and they're cleaning out the garage and they're doing everything that can and they're outside and they're bicycling and they're walking their dogs and all the stuff that they do, you know, that I think we took for granted in the warmer areas. They do, and as soon as they can, they appreciate because they know that summer is going to come and go really quickly. And the same with winter. I mean, here it's like it does get really cold, but it goes by really quickly too. And, you know, for me, it was like the first 2 winters we were here. I remember thinking of my son, oh, we have plenty of time to go skiing because he loves to ski. And it's New England. Of course, we have plenty of time to go skiing. It's ski country, right? But it's not. We even that goes by quickly. So, just curious what it's like for you there. Do you have 4 seasons like we do, or is it more like where I was in Arizona? And are you painting this to make it feel like fall, or are you painting this because it feels like fall? It is definitely my favorite season, so I'm super excited. And as for the final details, I went through and I did all the pumpkins, but I'm also did the windshield in a very like grayish, light grayish blue. And now I'm adding some of the final details, like it's supposed to be like leaves on the ground, a mix of leaves and dirt, just to ground the pumpkins as well as the the truck. You don't want it floating in space. So I'm going to add these shadows to underneath. Um, this video was originally over an hour, so I had edited it quite down a bit, but I also think I took a lunch break in the middle and just never stopped filming. So once you add these details and the shadows and the grounding, that's pretty much it. So let me know if you decide to do the pumpkins or the apples. I'm curious. And tag me if you completed the piece. I'd love to see it. But hopefully you enjoyed this video and got a couple more fall videos to come. And I will see you in the next one.